welcome to our In the Kitchen. Our dish that we're cooking up today is a Greek-inspired potato. Now, potatoes are one of the most nutritious foods that we have on our planet. The white potato, the one that I'm going to be using here, this white potato, russet potato, gets a lot of flack for being too starchy. It's just not the best vegetable, but in reality, it's actually one of the most nutrient-dense foods that you can eat. And we are going to come up with another way besides just having baked potatoes or boiled potatoes. We did potato salad. So today we are going to do what's a Spannakopita potato today. It's a way to jazz up your potatoes. And I want to start by thanking Juju. She's not here right now. She sent me this recipe. It came from a summit that she was on that was hosted by Ocean Robbins. And Ocean Robbins is a pretty big name in the plant-based nutrition world. If you don't know him, look him up. He's got a lot of great things that he is doing. His father, John Robbins, was one of the forefathers in this plant-based movement. His family owns the Baskin-Robbins ice cream chain, and he had the opportunity to be the next person in line to run and operate the franchise. And he decided no, because his purpose in life was all about spreading the word on plant-based eating. He gave up all of that wealth and everything that was in his family to go out and do the plant-based. So this recipe is inspired by the recipe that Juju sent me on Spannakopita potatoes. And I don't think I can say it again. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've washed some potatoes. Now, the recipe calls for 4 potatoes, a good sized potato. These ones I would say are decent size, but the ones that I've done earlier were a little bit bigger, but a nice sized potato. And all you do is wash them because we want to eat the skins. The skins have a lot of nutrients in them. And then what we're going to do is I've stabbed it with a fork or a little knife. And the reason you do that is to let out any of the steam that's building up inside the potato as the potato bakes. And that way, hopefully you avoid them to blow up in your oven. And since I started doing a lot of potatoes, I've had a number of potatoes blow up in my oven, even when I have stabbed them. But at least poking them with a fork or a knife helps to release the steam. So all I'm going to do is put these in the oven at 350 to bake. Now, I'm doing 350 because 350 is the sweet spot for preserving the nutrients that are in the foods. So when you're baking, if you keep it to 350 or lower, or 350 or lower, but usually 350, that's better. And the only thing is that you have to do it for longer. So these potatoes will probably take between 60 and 90 minutes. And you just want to feel when they are soft to touch, you can squeeze them and they're not hard, then they'll be ready. And so let's get going with the rest of it. So as usual, I'm going to move you over to my little perch here. I think it's a little further away today. Let me move it up. This is what happens when you're busy chasing dogs around the yard instead of getting ready. Okay, we're ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tofu feta. Now, we have made this tofu feta before, but it's the one that I like the best, so I'm going to use this one. What we're going to do is make a marinade. I've got some lemon juice, so a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. I'm going to add to it a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar here. And add that in. So lots of acid in this. And then I am going to add in some miso. So it's about a tablespoon. And I'm just going to put a guess to it. It doesn't have to be perfect. The miso paste that I have is an organic white miso. And the other one you could use is like a chickpea miso. I have looked all over. I found it online at, I think it's Organic Foods or OM Foods. They're an online grocery store that does beautiful organics they're out of BC. And that's where I found the chickpea miso before. So if you don't want to use soy, because this is the white miso is made with soy and it's fermented. So this is a good way to get some fermented foods into our diet, because fermented foods are the probiotics that feed our good bacteria in our gut. Now I have some spices here. I have a little bit of salt, and I'm using salt this time because feta is known to be salty. That's part of the taste. And I've got some oregano, some onion powder, and some garlic powder. So I'm just going to add all that in and then stir it up. I've got to make sure that the miso paste has a chance to be incorporated into this marinade. And probably if I brought my whisk out, that would help too, but I'm okay here. I'm just going to use this. Get the miso off of my spoon. Pretty close. I just need a couple of more swishes here. Get the miso all incorporated. And once you do that, then all you do is you crumble your tofu into the marinade and then let it sit, put it in the fridge and let it sit. I would say overnight is the best. Now, this is a extra firm organic tofu. I used half of it to make some, but you would use the whole thing. I already made some of the tofu to show you in the recipe. And I'm going to crumble it. You can cut it. The other thing you can do is you can press it first to get rid of some of the moisture in the tofu. And when you do that, then it can absorb more of the flavor. Now, I have done that. I have a tofu press, and I have used the tofu press before. But I think the better way is just put something heavy on it. You could put some books on it. Or you could do what I do, and I just take my pots out of the cupboard, all my heavy stainless steel pots, and I put it on top. So what I do is I take my tofu on a plate, and I take a clean kitchen tea towel, and I put that down, a little bit of paper towel usually. Then I put the tofu down, and then on another plate, and then I put the pots on top of it. And that is a really easy and inexpensive way to press your tofu. And that will get rid of some of the moisture. Now, I did not do that because personally, I'm good without doing it. I didn't really myself find too much benefit with doing that extra step of pressing the tofu. So I'm about simplicity and I'm good without it. But if you want to try it, and it might be something that you like to do, so you can go ahead. I saw one lady that does a cooking show, and her idea of doing it is just to pat it with a towel. And so she found the same thing I did, that she didn't really get that much extra out of going to the trouble of pressing it. And I do have a tofu press, but honestly, I prefer just putting the stainless steel pots right on top of it. So this I'm going to put in the fridge and let it marinate so that the flavors melt together. And one of the beautiful things about that tofu feta cheese is it actually starts tasting better over a couple of days. So I find like by about day 3, it really is taking on that feta consistency. So it just really starts to change the texture a little bit of the tofu and becomes more like feta cheese. So if I'm really on my game and I'm doing something like this, I would probably want to put it and marinate it for a couple of days. So on Sunday, you could put together your marinade and put it in the fridge. It'll last for at least a week. And then you can make your potatoes later in the week and have them. So it's just about a little bit of planning. So the second thing I'm going to do is make a little bit of a cashew cream sauce. And for that, obviously, I'm going to use cashews. So I have a cup of cashews. I have soaked these for about 4 hours this morning, and I've rinsed them off. I'm going to put them in my blender. Now, I always talk about two reasons why you're soaking your cashews. Number one is to soften them so that your cream isn't grainy. The second reason, and by the way, if that's what you're doing, you can always, if you forget to soak your cashews, 4 to 6 hours is good. Anything more than that, cashews are a soft nut and they start to lose their appeal, I think, after about 6 hours. But so you can always just use hot water and douse it with hot water. That's another way. But what I've done is the second reason, and this is the soaking water. You can see it's all a murky color now, it's the water. The reason is that there's enzyme inhibitors that are coated around all nuts and seeds, and they are an anti-nutrient. So these will prevent us from absorbing all the nutrients into our body, and they're meant to keep the nuts fresh and stop them from rotting before you want to use them, because nuts have a lot of, and seeds have a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which is very good for us. But if we don't soak them and remove that enzyme inhibitor, our body isn't going to take them all in. So if you have some digestive issues, especially around nuts, it could be because they haven't been soaked to remove those enzyme inhibitors. All right. And I'm going to add to this. I've never done this one before in my cashew cream, but I'm trying this. I have this coconut plant-based yogurt. I'm going to add that in here. So I just bought a little container. It's about half a cup. And if you're going to buy a coconut yogurt, make sure that you look at the ingredients. This one has organic coconut cream, water, tapioca starch, and bacterial cultures. That's it. So I'm going to add that in. And I just wanted a little bit because I'm not going to use it. I'm not a yogurt eater, but this adds a nice creaminess to and lightness to the cream. So this is a nice touch when you're making a cashew cream. It also gives it a little bit of a coconutty flavor. And then I'm going to add in a few other things. I have a little bit of lemon juice. I'm going to do a couple of teaspoons here of lemon juice. And then I'm going to add in some miso as well. So that I'm just going to add in a little bit of miso. This one. This. All right. Add that in. And then I have some nutritional yeast and some garlic powder as well. I'll add that in. And that's it. Now I have 2 vessels for my Vitamix. This is a smaller base. It's about a 3.5 inch base. My other one is a bigger base. And the bigger base one does not work with the small amounts like this because it ends up just everything flies to the sides. And then you every 5 seconds, you've got to be trying to wipe it down and restart. You can do it, but it's very annoying. So I'm going to add in a little bit of liquid here. This is some warm water, just a little bit here. I can always add more later if I feel the consistency needs it. And we're going to blend this up. All right. Now I do have a tamper I could use to get it going, but I think I wanted just to add a little bit more water. Here comes the tamper. have our creamy cashew cream sauce. Beautiful. Next, let's get these potatoes done. Yum. So I have 2 potatoes I've already baked up. And they've been sitting cooling for a bit. I probably should have opened them up to cool them a little more, but that's okay. I'm going to deal with that. So I'm just going to cut the potatoes in half. I'm excited for my lunch today. So I've got my potatoes. And what I'm going to do is take my bowl. I have a bowl here. And a spoon. Where's my spoon? I have a spoon. I have a set of spoons that really are nice for when you're digging stuff out, like avocados and peppers and stuff. So I like to use that spoon. And what I'm doing is I'm taking out the meat of the potato, but I'm going to leave a little bit of the meat on the skin, not take it all off. So it's about 1/4 inch or so. So you can see that I've cut most of it out, but I've left some. So let me do that now. And then this is the beauty part. Add those in. Yum. Right, so we have our potatoes now, all taking the meat out of the inside of the potatoes. Yum, yum, yum. And I have a fork. I'm just going to mash it up a little bit. Here. I've mashed it up. It doesn't take much. They're pretty soft. I'm going to add in some of my beautiful cashew cream that I made. Let's add that in. And this you can put as much as you want to make it the consistency you want. That on the side for now. I'm going to add a little bit of the marinade, just a couple of tablespoons of the marinade. Give it a little more flavor. That's from our tofu feta. And then I'm going to add in some spinach. So this is frozen spinach. I unthawed it and then I wring it out with, you can wring it out in a tea towel to get rid of the extra moisture. I just used my hands in clumps to get rid of the excess moisture. I'm going to add some of that in here. The spinach. And stir it all up. Yum. Add a little more spinach. And again, you can make it to whatever the measurements are in the recipe, but you can make it to whatever looks good to you and how much you want. You could put a little more spinach, a little less spinach. It's up to you. And then once it's all incorporated, what I'm going to do is then stuff this mixture back into the potatoes and put them back in the oven to bake. And so this is something while you're working from home or you have some time, you can easily do some of this stuff up in advance and then pop your potatoes into the oven. There we go. We've got a stuffed potato here. Pop your potatoes into the oven and bake them, and then just do this and then put them in the oven for another, whatever, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you want, to heat them up again and maybe crisp up the outside of the potato. I like it crispy outside. And yum. All right, we're almost done. You could even make all your potatoes in advance and do all this, and just when you're ready, pop them in the oven. Maybe you can spend some time one day when you have time, like a Sunday afternoon, if it's not too nice and you want to spend your time getting ready for the week, you could get this ready and then just pop them in the oven when you're ready for them. It could be in the fridge. All right. So then all I need to do, add a little of that, a little more here, is pop these into the oven. So I have my baking sheet here, and I use these we use pizza trays to do our stuff. So I'm just going to pop them on the pizza tray and put them in the oven. All right. Ooh. All right. And of course, I have to bring out my ones that are all done. Yeah. So they're a little bit crispy on the top, a little bit crispy, and that's the way I like them. You don't need to do them that long if you don't want. Now I can I'm just going to do one up for me. And take a little bit of my cashew cream sauce, add it to here, a little bit more. You can just add it on here. Add on some feta cheese here. I've got my feta cheese that I made. Add that on here to the top. And if you wanted, you could add something like green onions to this. I love, or chives, if you have some of those around, that's good. Adds a little fresh element to it. I want to put fresh onions. I got some green onion that I've got cut up. We have that stuff just in the fridge, ready to go. So I've got that. And voila, you have a Spannakopita potato skin, stuffed potato. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to bring you guys closer again for the day and see if there's any questions from anybody on this recipe. Yeah. Oh, that's the next thing. It does look delicious. I always make these things that are hard to, I got to let it cool. You know what I did yesterday? Dumb me. I was having a potato and I wanted to eat it. And it was a little too hot and I put it in my mouth and I burnt my top of my roof of my mouth. Oh my goodness. So I want to make sure it's not too hot. So creamy. It's got all the flavors from that cashew cream, the spinach, and it's so creamy. A little bit of the feta cheese. Yum. Very good. All right.
Yeah, the feta marinade probably adds a lot of flavor to
Yeah, it does.
stuffing, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, onto the top. And I crumbled it especially because when you're putting out a potato, the cubes,
Yeah,
work so well. So I thought, oh, I'm going to crumble it. Plus that, yeah, it tastes, yeah, it definitely gives a lot of flavor. That's for sure.
yeah, sounds really good.
Another way to do your potatoes.
Right.
All right, I'm just getting the link for you.
Okay.
Mary, nice to see you. All right, so there's the recipe for you. If you want to try it. Another way to do potatoes.
Yeah, definitely give that a try. I make your Greek dressing so often. It's just so good.
Which one?
Just for a Greek salad, your Greek dressing for your Greek salad.
Dressing.
Yeah, I make make that often.
Yeah, I swear I go through a ton of Dijon mustard in my house because I love some of those dressings.
Yes.
Okay. If there's no questions, I want to thank you for joining me today. I've got my lunch here for me. I can hardly wait.
Yes.
And I'm going to put some music on. Enjoy your weekend.